Yosano Akiko was born in Sakai, Japan, December 7, 1878, to owners of a confectionery shop. She grew up with strict parents who imposed traditional constraints on her. But thanks to her great-grandparents' library, she developed an interest in literature and began her writing her own poems in secret. She read books from France and England as well as from ancient and modern Japan. At age 19, she published her first poem in the local journal, and within 3 years, she became a prominent poet in the Kansai area. In 1900, she met Tekken, the leader of the new poetry society called Shinshia. He taught her literature and brought her to Tokyo to publish her works in his journal, Myojo. In 1901, Tekken helped her publish the first book titled Tangled Hair. It became a huge success and her popularity soared as a poet. Due to her success, she was able to travel to France, Germany, Holland, England, and Manchuria. During her trip, she was inspired by the relative freedom of European women and gave her the determination to help change Japanese lifestyle through the power of the creative word.
During the Edo period of 1603 to 1868, the social status of Japanese women was controlled by Karibara Ekin's teachings on the family system. Under his system, the head of the family had absolute authority over his blood relatives and their spouses, and also exercised numerous other rights. Because of the system, the Japanese women had very few legal, economic, political, and marital rights. However, in 1864, due to the Meiji Restoration, it abolished the feudalist customs and introduced new, modernized roles for women. Women's sphere of activity was extended mostly in terms of the education system. However, it would be a long time before women had the equal amount of rights and freedom that men had. Yosano was a strong believer in female rights, and she dedicated her life to influencing people through her work that women had the same capabilities as men. She believed that there is more to life for women than just being a mother and raising a family. She stated, "The fact that I became a mother has never been the most important factor in my life. Even after I became a mother, I continued to be somebody's wife, a friend to other people, and a member of the Japanese nation, a human being. I am a human being who is absorbed in my thoughts, composes tanka poems, writes articles, and is also engaged in many other different kinds of mental and physical work."
Upon her return from Europe, she embarked on a project of translating the 11th century classic Genji Monogatari by Murasaki Shikibu into modern Japanese. It's a tale of a young prince born from a low-ranking concubine trying to find love and power in a chaotic world. In 1921, she established the Bunka Gakuen School for Girls, where she also taught and in later years was a literary critic. She died on May 29, 1942, during World War II, at the age of 63 due to a stroke. Yosano Akiko is generally admired as the greatest female poet and tanka poet of modern Japan, as an influential critic and educator, and as the grand embodiment of romanticism, feminism, pacifism, and social reform in the first three decades of the 20th century. She has been called a princess, queen, and goddess of poetry. She infused erotic and imaginative passion into the traditional tanka form, a poem of 5 lines containing 5, 7, 5, 7, and 7 syllables, respectively. A tanka is a form of Japanese poetry that originated in the 7th century. They were originally written about nature and on love regularly exchanged between high-ranking courtesans. Altogether, Akiko published 75 books, of which more than 20 are collections of original poetry. She wrote approximately 17,000 tanka as well as 500 poems in free verse, which she devoted primarily to social issues such as pacifism and feminism. Left on the beach, full of water, a worn-out boat reflects the white sky of early autumn.
Swifter than hail, lighter than a feather, a vague sorrow crossed my mind.
Feeling you nearby, how could I not come to walk beneath this evening moon rising over flowering fields?
It was only the thin thread of a cloud, almost transparent, leading me along the way like an ancient, sacred song.
I say his poem propped against this frozen wall in the late evening as bitter autumn rain continues to fall. What I count on is the white birch that strands where no human language is ever heard.
A bird comes delicately as a little girl to bathe in the shade of my tree in an autumn petal.
Even at 19, I had come to realize that violets fade, spring waters soon run dry. This life is too transient.
He stood by the door, calling through the evening the name of my sister who died last year, and how I pitied him.